The third leg of our trip started from the Red Bluff Campground and ran all the way down to the Little Desert National Park. The Red Bluff Campground is a pretty spectacular location, great camping facilities, yeah, lots of room, and it was amazing. It almost felt like we were camping in somewhere like Central Australia. So this is the track heading out of the campground, heading west towards the border track. A little bit bouncy, but it's pretty good. Now we're back on the border track, so we're heading south now. The border track in this section is two-way, so you've got to be a little bit more careful about cars coming the other way over the tops of dunes. Once again, there was quite a lot of options to tackle various sand dunes. Here we chose a slightly more difficult path, which is fairly steep. There's a few people up the top here, so I wasn't quite sure whether there was a car coming or not. So we sort of made the mistake of pulling up just here, and that was it. It was so steep. It doesn't look so on the video, but it is very, very steep. So we just backed down and whacked the lockers on, and that was enough to get back over the hill. As it turns out, there was a car fairly well bogged to the right of the screen that we didn't show, but they were in a bit of having a bit of a challenge digging it out. So we're just pushing further down the border track itself. Very similar to the second leg of our trip. It had been raining the previous couple of days, and this section is characterised by lots and lots of deep bog holes, and it's really dangerous if you just go whack driving into them. So you need to be super careful. Good thing is there's lots of chicken tracks, so we thought we'd be prudent and avoid those big holes. They will swallow cars, some of them, they're quite deep. So rather than pushing on directly down the border track, there's a section here about 6 k's worth that's very, very wet and boggy. So we decided to head back out and do a little bit of a bypass route. So we're back on the track again. So this is now further south of that section of boggy track. And it's pretty good going. It was really nice vegetation. Track weaves in and out. This section also had a few bog holes as well to negotiate. Some were unavoidable. We had to drive through them. But on the whole, I think in dry weather this would be an excellent track to drive down. Some pretty cool vegetation hiding along the border in this section. The day we did it, there was no traffic at all, so we didn't see another car. You can see here that it can get a little bit wet in the ruts, but traction was no problem. See, even we had no issues getting through. So there were some parts of the track which we couldn't drive, so we had to come inland a few kilometres and travel down some of these back roads. Here we're driving down one of the, it was pretty wet, and we decided to drive on the grass just to try to avoid digging up the tracks for the locals. Here we are approaching the northern boundary of the Little Desert National Park. So you can see the fence coming up, which is the formal start of the park. So you can see here that the track runs straight through, and we've done this before, and it's a really good track along the border. But on this day we decided to head inland a little bit to the east into the park. And the reason for that was to visit the highest sand hill in this section of the park, which is Mount Moffet. And here we are turning up the track that leads to the top of Mount Moffet. So this is an amazing spot to just spend a few minutes looking out across the national park. It's higher than the surrounding landscape, as you can see here. Pretty cool place to come and visit. After leaving Mount Moffet, we headed basically in a westerly direction to get back to the border truck. The tracks in this section of the park are pretty good. You can get some bit of soft sand here and there. There's still a fair bit of water floating around. You just need to be careful because there are quite a lot of bog holes floating here and there. Some of them are fairly drastic, and just need to be careful. So we're back on the border trail now, just heading down the fence line. Probably the highlight of this leg of the trip was visiting the Serviceton Railway Station, which used to be the old customs point between South Australia and Victoria. Here we met a lovely old gentleman, Les, who's the caretaker, who generously offered to show us around the station, and it was well worth a look. The station's got a lot of history. It's more or less complete in its original state. Has the original customs offices for each of the states, a range of dining rooms and buffets. The entire station master's residence is still there, including all the furniture and bric-a-brac. In the basement, there's some really large storage areas, including prisoner cells for prisoner transfer between the two states. And at one end of the station, there's even a morgue room for transferring bodies at one point in time. A big thank you to Les for taking the time to show us around the station, just to let you know that we really appreciated the opportunity.